How you doing? This is Bobby Davis. Welcome to the tech capital of the world. I should have said now the SQL capital of the world. And I'm a boomer Android developer. And I'm joined by Kevin Doyle. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good. You got an awful lot in that first introduction there. Like
I
that's
did.
a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. You're a boomer developer, a boomer Android developer from the SQL capital of the world, North Carolina.
From the SQL
Go
capital
through.
of the world.
I like it.
But I'm an untrusted SQL developer because if I
Yep.
say SQL, not SQL, I can't be trusted. So
We'll
there's that
totally
too.
we'll totally talk about that. Put up a really polarizing poll, which you guys answered
Right,
in your thousands.
right. Appreciate it. Like all on the poll and helping us out with that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, a lot of people answered. Which what Let me hold on before we move on. I will get to your questions. We will do a Q&A. Just a couple of things to talk about first. So I see you've got a couple of questions already from Matthew and Turk. I will get to those, I promise.
Yeah.
Just real
we'll get to 'em.
quick. Turk says, though, really waiting to live stream. Gives you motivations. Thanks for all your group. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. We only do them because you
Cool.
show up.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And hey, look, Ram says he wants to be as chill as you. That's cool. Take that as a
So,
compliment.
you got to have an Android phone if you want to be as chill as me around.
So, which story do you want to start with? Which thing do you
I
want to
think
start talking about first?
look, what you guys informed me this morning in our, like, you don't know this, we have a daily stand-up with marketing team, and then we just go over stuff. And you guys informed me that because I don't have an iPhone, that officially makes me a boomer.
Well, hold
So,
on. This is just to be fair. This is according
yeah,
to this news article.
right,
So let me pull it up here. So there was this news article that was put out, and it's talking about the usage of emojis, right? So, and particularly the crying emoji. And it's like,
right,
apparently if you use the crying emoji now, Gen Z says you're now a boomer, which basically means you're a millennial. So Gen Z's now telling the millennials, like, no. They also don't like skinny jeans. They don't like side parted hair. There was a whole bunch of other stuff they don't like. But the part that stuck out
side-parted
to
hair.
me was this part right here. It was amazing. The last line of this article said, "For Gen Z, it's like the same thing as having an Android." I just thought that was genius. I just thought that was
So I
hilariously
went on
funny.
Twitter right before the show, and if you follow me on Twitter, go ahead and hit me up at CT Bobby Davis and answer the question. If you're an Android, if I'm a boomer because I use an Android phone, and if you're an Android developer, what does that make you? Like, what is your job title? Boomer
Well,
dev? I mean, like, what is
well,
it?
yeah. Clearly, you're making apps about retirement and
Right,
dating over 60 and
right,
fun things to do after I've retired. Surely those are the Android
right.
apps you're making, right? That's what you're doing as an
Exactly.
Android developer these days, because only boomers are using
Yeah.
them, right?
The benefits of a bridge
The,
over implants or something like that. Silver teeth.
right, exactly. Yeah. What kind of plastic hip should I get? Like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it's a choose your hip app. Uh,
Yeah,
Killer tool there if there isn't one already. If somebody wants to develop that,
yeah.
it could be a
Rating
market.
your fiber intake, what's your best fiber supplement,
Exactly. Yeah, how to get your fiber up to 100% or whatever. That's pretty funny. So
Anyway,
yeah,
so like,
so
hopefully,
so androids are apparently officially boomer. I didn't know that. Any
so does that
any
make
Gen Zs
Java
in
and
here?
Kotlin a boomer language? I mean, like, just really, I mean, because that's what they're used for a lot. So,
I don't know.
I think Kotlin's now officially a boomer language.
I think we have a lot to learn here that we're not aware of. I I,
Yes. And I think
I think we
because you can
do.
build iOS with C sharp, that makes C sharp cooler now than Java.
Yeah.
I think we can officially say that at
C
this
Sharp's
point.
a non-boomer language, which you would think
It's a
would be like you get accused of that a lot, right? C Sharp. We get the comments all the time. It was one question last time that somebody's like, "Is C Sharp used to make new things, or is it just legacy applications?" I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, wow, maybe that's the Java thing then. I
No,
don't
we
know.
never hit file new project. It's never happened in 15 years.
No, no,
It's
no,
never happened.
no, no.
Nothing new.
Yep.
So
So,
anyway, so
so,
I'm
so that
curious
was
to see
one
if
thing.
there's any good job descriptions out there, or if you have a boomer dev card, or what's on your business card if you're an Android developer now. What's your new
Exactly.
title?
And any Gen Zs here using Android? I'm interested in that too.
Yeah,
Anybody who's
exactly.
considered a Gen
Is
Z
it
using
all
Android?
Apple?
Is it
All
all Apple?
iOS?
Yeah. Something I didn't know. Okay, next thing. Talk about we put up a poll on our community page over the weekend, and it was I put up the poll over the weekend, and it was based on the fact that there was a comment on one of our videos that said, because we used the word SQL instead of SQL in terms of pronunciation. Well, I use it too, so I'm gonna put us both in the same bucket. Because we used SQL instead of SQL, that we are untrustworthy.
We can't be trusted.
I think it was left in jest. I can't remember who left the comment, but I'm pretty sure it was left in jest. But it made me think, okay, so I've used SQL a long time. I know you use it a lot, and I know lots of other people who do. So I put up a poll to figure out like what the general consensus was on this, and a lot of people responded to the poll. So here we go. So it's 1,700 votes, or over 1,700 votes, somewhere between 1,700 and 800. They stop counting the hundreds when you get over 1,000. So how do you pronounce SQL? So 40% of people said SQL, and almost 60% said SQL. So I don't know. I think that's pretty polarizing.
Right, and I think that 1% down there is something else, which is squirrel.
There was a whole bunch of other weird things, and I'm like, no, you're just dead wrong. Like, I don't mind. No, that's just wrong. There's only two ways, I think. It's either SQL or some version of the word SQL or SQL. So we did a little bit of research, and although I think
we can settle this for sure.
Can we though? I'm not sure we really can.
I think it can be settled for sure.
Well, here's what the Wikipedia page shows. It shows both SQL and SQL as pronunciations, bearing in mind. But when you get into the history part of it, it talks about, and this is what the comment was saying. It talks about this part right here is important. The acronym SQL was later changed to SQL because SQL was a trademark. So it was a trademark name, which bearing in mind does not change the pronunciation.
Exactly.
Keep that in mind. It does not change the way that it's pronounced. Just because somebody already had the name SQL and the acronym SQL was already used does not change the correct pronunciation of it. So, we know from the horse's mouth, Mr. Bill Gates, that he uses SQL. He's on video saying the word SQL in plenty of different places. He does not use SQL. So, thought that was kind of.
And I think he's an authority because he has probably one of the largest, if not, well, it's maybe not. If I would just say one of the largest implementations of SQL out there today. And as long as I can remember, and we were on the marketing, another one of the marketing team where the marketing ladies were arguing with me what's called SQL. I'm like, really? You're arguing with me? Like it's been called SQL Server for as long as I've been alive. And I understand that it can be called SQL,
Right. And I don't think it's one of those things where I don't think any one of them is wrong.
No, they're not wrong.
I just
think it's funny that I can't be trusted.
Yeah, can't be trusted. That was funny. That was pretty funny.
So, anyway. So, but Bill Gates called it SQL Server. So
we're sticking with SQL, whether it's SQL
I don't know if I can
not.
change.
We're not changing it.
But like basically, you read the Wikipedia, it used to be called structured English
query language. Yeah.
And so that got like pushed into SQL, and now we've removed the word English out of it. It got shortened to SQL being called SQL.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
The name.
Yeah. Well, what happened was there was a trademark thing from the other. The trademark happened from the other company because that was their brand. So they took out the E's in it basically. Making it SQL. So
Right.
It's an interesting history. I didn't know the history of that till that topic came up.
Pretty funny.
So I thought that was.
It's almost as polarizing as HTML programming language. It's almost that polarizing.
I'm going to do that poll next. You guys get ready to jump on that poll. Is HTML a programming language? Is going to be the question.
Right.
Yes, no, and I'll think up some snarky response for the third one. But those are going to be the two. So we'll do that. Maybe I'll do that later today. Actually, I'll put that one up, you guys, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. So we'll do some questions here in a second. I had one last thing to talk about, and this is going to be just real quick. I've recommended on here before LastPass, and I've recommended in, and we're not affiliated with LastPass or anything. We don't have any kind of affiliate with them or anything crazy like that. But somebody's asked me in Discord before too, and I spoke with Ben, who was, I guess, last week about LastPass too. He was looking for a password manager, and I've recommended it a lot. I know you use it too. I've used it for a long time. So just so you know, they did add they've done a weird thing with their platform. They're changing it so that the free tier, you can either choose to use it on a computer or you can use it on a mobile device. You can no longer use their free tier on both starting March 16th. So,
yeah, I'm gonna have to upgrade or change.
Weird. So you got to upgrade, and the upgrade you can get it cheaper if you go to this page, go to their website. There's a blog post. You can get it for $225 a month when billed annually. So it's still pretty cheap, and I'm gonna buy it. But here's what I don't like. They're adding an artificial barrier to these things. This is not a technical limitation. They're saying enough people aren't paying for our service, so we need to add in this artificial reason for people to pay for it.
Yeah.
It was kind of slimy. I don't like the sales practice, but I understand it from a business perspective.
Right.
So, so if you want to jump on that, jump on it before mid-March. I think it's worth it, and I'm going to pay for it. So,
yeah.
I've rode the free LastPass train for long enough. Okay, so we'll get to some questions here. Mishana wants to know.
I was just looking at that one. We could give the quote here if we want to, see where my boomer portfolio is.
Should we, though? Should we, though? I mean, is it just bad?
It's like $50 or something like that.
Is it?
Show it. Ram is here, so we need to go ahead and give him a stock quote.
We do. Today. Oh, wow. I'm not going to pull up the whole thing here, but here we go. It's not looking good. Yeah. It's not.
That's looking strong.
Let's do 5 days. Oh, it's held consistent for 5 days, though. Really, look.
It's about $50.
Here, look. Somebody made $10 a share right here on these things on a day trade, but So yeah, no.
Oh well.
I think we're over the GameStop thing now, right?
Yeah, Diamond Hand's still here, So like when they cover those shorts, I'm gonna sell mine. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Eventually, I'll get out of it.
Yeah, I know, Alex. OnePass would just pay for it. I agree. Yeah. But LastPass is the same now too. You're gonna pay for either one of them. So I just like LastPass. I just think it's good. But I agree. I'm not averse to paying.
Now it makes me look. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not averse to paying for it at all. It's just that you've given it to me for free for such a long time. Like I had no reason to pay for it. Okay, let's do some questions. So, a couple things, actually, before we go into the first question here from Matthew. Thanks for the question, Matthew. If you could go like the video, when I put up this video this morning, somebody came and disliked it before he even got a like. Like, we haven't even done anything yet. Like, I haven't even put my foot in my mouth yet and say anything bad. Like, you can't dislike it before it's been on, surely. So if you could go like the video below, that helps us a massive amount. We would love if you could do that.
Yeah, love some likes, maybe a sub too here and there. Yeah.
If you're not already subscribed, we would love for you to subscribe to that. Great. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are. Okay, because we do these every Tuesday and Thursday. So if we don't get to your question today, come back next Thursday, and then every Tuesday, Thursday, and we'll get to as many as we can. Okay, so Matthew's question. His question is, how do I deal with an unengaging teacher? I leave my lectures dumber than when I went in, and frequently find answers online instead. It's not a bad skill though, Matthew, to be honest, because you're gonna have to do your own research anyway in the future. So it's not a bad thing to have to go look it up yourself. But there's not a lot you can do about it.
There ain't a whole lot you can do about it. So let's say I'm assuming you're in university. I mean, it's not like you can drop the class, I guess, and try to take a different one. But usually you have, in computer science realms, usually you have limited options when that goes there. If you're at a boot camp, you can drop the boot camp. So you can drop the class and leave, or you can try to learn what you can learn out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the way. I think you're going to have to engage in a lot of self-learning, just like you are everywhere, really. I think a lot of college classes are that way. If you get a bad teacher, it doesn't necessarily make the material bad. The material you get might be good, but the teacher could be just unengaged and just not somebody you want to learn from, and that's okay. You can still learn stuff from the thing because you have a structure, right? You have a curriculum. You're still pulling stuff in from, so it could still be good. You have to make the best of it.
You do.
That's probably not the best answer, but or what you want to hear.
It helps. And assuming, Matthew, if you're on our channel, you're studying computer science or programming or something like that. So I'm assuming that's what you're doing. So yeah, I think the best thing you can do to get your career moving forward is build projects, man. Like, so learn what you're doing in the lecture and then try to apply whatever they're teaching you. If it's C++ or C# or Java or whatever it is, or try to build a project with what you're learning. Start building that portfolio right now, and then try to make the best of it. Get a job. That's what you're there to do, is to find employment after you leave wherever you're being educated at.
Yep, so. Definitely. Okay, thanks for the question, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Turk has a question. This is my question. How can I get my first job? All caps. He's yelling it at me. I'm not going to yell it at you guys, but he's yelling at me.
So we're assuming that you're here and you're going to learn how to code, and so that's why you're here. You're in that realm, and you're one of your first software jobs. So, full disclosure, kind of wrote a book on the topic, breaking the code, first thing in a software job. So there's 5 steps in there. The first step that you need to think about is your portfolio. So is your portfolio what I would call rockstar quality, meaning that does it look well? Does it behave well? All the misspellings, this kind of stuff. Is it like professionally hosted? Have a good URL that people can remember? Typically, you should buy your own URL, so you could have turk.com or whatever that is. And then inside that portfolio, you need a list of projects and a list of things that people can interact with and play with. So I think a lot of times people put links to GitHub repos, which is good. That's better than not having it. But like, they're also expecting the person coming to the portfolio to be able to clone that repo, get it working, work out any dependency issues, get it compiled so they can actually use it. So I think you not only do you publish your portfolio, but you publish your project work as well. And these should be projects that you build. Now, if you have experience, sometimes you're linking out to websites that you've worked on in a career path, and that's fine. And some of it's behind the firewall, and that's, and there's nothing you can do about that. So that's why we always recommend building custom-built projects that you build that allow your person visiting your website to easily demo it. So it needs to have like these kind of like no signups type demo logins that they can just like click a button and like look at the bug tracker, click a button, look at your invoicing app, click a button, look at your mortgage app. It makes it real easy for them to evaluate you as a prospective employee. So I think that's how you do it. And then once you have that built, man, you ship that URL to everyone that you can find on LinkedIn, connect with recruiters, ship it out to everyone that you can find, talk to people. And then the third step, which is the meta step, which is really blogging about what you do and just find things to blog about, put it on DevTO. I think it's even better than Medium now, or build your own blog software like we do here at Coder Foundry, and then kind of like push that URL out as well, like the turkblog.com or whatever.
Yep.
Hope that helps.
Yep. And literally, just to plug the book again, your question is literally answered with the book. Everything about that is in this book. Literally everything Bobby said in way more detail. So it is a roadmap to getting your first job. It's called 5 Steps to a Life-Changing Software Development Job. That's its subtitle. Yeah. So it literally handles.
And it has an amazing drawing of Spider-Man in it.
It does. I really want to publish. I did a really, really quick Photoshop the other day because we were on our team call and we were talking about Natasha's drawing of Spider-Man, and I put her version of Spider-Man in a photoshopped it into the Spider-Verse poster, and it looks really good. It looks legit.
It looks good.
But because it's in the Spider-Verse poster, I can't share it. It's obviously
right. Yeah,
so I can't actually share it. But it was funny for us.
Yeah, it was funny for us.
There is a legit Spider-Man picture on page 90 something.
96.
Okay. Ben, thanks for the question, Ben, and thanks for joining us. Says fingers crossed. Oh, he's now a question. It's the same thing we've been dealing with.
He's in Texas, I guess.
Out. Our companies do roll in blackouts, conserve energy. Yeah, we've been dealing with that here too in North Carolina. Some of our instructors didn't have power the entire weekend. They got it back yesterday. I have friends that didn't have any power over the whole weekend, and it's been really cold here too for North Carolina.
Yeah, we didn't have internet in here in the office Monday morning for a couple hours because of the power went out. It killed a domain controller. The domain controller didn't come back. The domain controller's in a VM, and it was hard to get to it. So I had to like redo the network in a couple hours.
So you were doing network tech support yesterday morning.
Yeah, exactly. It was awesome. I loved it. So
I'm sure you did.
Yeah. Like, you own your own business, man, and like you end up just doing everything.
You got to do it all, right? It's not like you have a network guy just like sat next to you, right? It's just going to be like, hey, go fix the network. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
You gotta do it yourself.
So,
and to be honest, we got a kind of complex network there. It's not
we do.
it's not just the internet plugged into a router. It's really not.
Yeah.
We were hosting a whole
Right.
bunch of stuff at one point in time. There's still some stuff there. We're hosting a whole bunch of like stuff that had to be secure. So there's a ton of stuff. Very technical.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wires. Okay. Fury Papa, thank you for the question. Is it possible for self-taught programmer to work for big companies like NVIDIA?
100% Furry. We were talking about a guy today that would like to get on channel. I'm not going to give his name out, but he just came up in our marketing meeting today, and that he is at Microsoft. He's working at Microsoft Charlotte, and he started out as a waiter. He was a waiter, and then he came here in the middle of his, not middle age, but like later in a career. It wasn't
He was
20,
in his
he was over
40s.
30, maybe even 40s.
He's in his 40s.
And he follows the advice that we do at Coder Founder, which is, hey, take the first opportunity you get. He literally had no expectations of anything, took the first opportunity you get, and then rolled that into other jobs to where today, 3 years later, 4 years later, I'd have to go look and see the total time. He's at Microsoft. Yeah, 3 years. From, basically a waiter getting tips at a restaurant to, a developer at Microsoft in 3 years is a pretty good story. And if he can do it, and this is no disrespect to him, but anyone can do it.
Yeah, so. And it's not, I mean, it is different than your question, the fact that he did go to a boot camp, and that probably helped him get his first gig, because I know we actually placed him in his first gig, so I do know that. I remember Natasha helping him with the job placement, so he did have that help. But that's not to say that you don't, it's the difference between being self-taught and coming to a boot camp is obviously you get the mentorship and you get the curriculum and that stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're kind of going to end up doing the same first job. So if you can be self-taught and break in initially, you can do that. Now, chances of being self-taught and then immediately going to work for NVIDIA a lot slimmer.
Smaller.
It's not impossible.
But that's your ultimate goal. You can get there. And I think you need to, if you have get any job that you can get to work as a programmer, get paid. And then you start looking at, like, I want to work at Microsoft, I want to work at NVIDIA, or I want to work at Google, I want to work at Amazon. That's my dream job. Find out what they hire for. Start reaching out to some of the people on Twitter and get in their feeds and LinkedIn. Find out what types of skills they're looking for, and then learn those skills and then apply. So I think that's my best advice. If you want to say, like NVIDIA, and that's where you want to work, figure out what they're hiring for. What do the people build it with, and learn that skill, learn that stack, and then try to find people that work there to see if you can get a recommendation, get in the feeds of people there, and just try to win that way. Should be good. You can do it.
Yep, definitely. And yes, we do hope to have him on, Ram. We do hope that we can get him to come on. We're going to ask him. Whether he wants to or not is totally up to him.
He may not,
we are going to reach out to him.
Yep.
Ram has a question too. How much Git knowledge should you have before getting a job at any company?
You definitely need to know how to use Git for sure. You don't need to be a Git master or anything like that, or a Git guru, but you need to know how to, like, clone a repo. You need to know how to push and pull. You need to know how to work on branches, and then how to, like, settle, when you have conflicts, when you're pushing things back in. So.
Yeah, because you're going to find no matter where you go, they're going to be using it, right? Or some form of these tools.
So, I mean, there are other source control methods out there, but Git is by far and away the largest one in use today. So that's the one you should spend time learning how to do. And then if you have to do something else and use something different, then you just learn how they do it.
Oh, look, just get good, Ram.
I
like that. How do I say? Funny. Proper dad joke there. Well done, Boomer.
That's a Boomer joke right there, man.
I like it. Just so we're clear here, 808 High Vibes, we're not saying anything about about
No.
serving being a bad thing. We're talking about it more from a monetary perspective. He was making, as a server, he was making less than 20 grand. So we're talking about it more from a sort of like from an opportunity perspective, more from that perspective. There's plenty of servers who are very, very, very smart.
Yeah, so that's just like what you do for a living. But like, if you want to make more money, I mean, I'm sure there's some waiters that do okay, but for the vast majority of us that are in the serving industry, it's not the highest paid position on the face of planet Earth. I mean, so like, coding offers that opportunity to learn how to do something that you can get paid better for. You're walking around smarts. I mean, so yeah, it's not about being dumb. It's about taking your smarts, realizing that maybe coding is for someone like, because a lot of times people think, oh, waiters, they're in this class, and therefore I could never aspire to be in this other thing. Yeah. And what we try to do at Coder Foundry and on this channel is to make you realize that coding is this thing that isn't for a mad scientist necessarily, and people from all walks of life, not everyone, but more than you think, could become a developer and make it work. And so the question was, can someone get to Microsoft? And it's like, so coming from a restaurant as a waiter to Microsoft is a big leap, and pay and everything. So I think it's pretty cool. Yep. But if you're out there as a waiter, man, like, hey, man, you got to make a living somehow. So,
Yeah. So anyway. Definitely. And he says he's just playing. And that's the way I took it too.
Yeah, no disrespect though, but like, I get it. Yeah, he's just playing around. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. So Florin wants to know, what kind of projects do I need to have in my portfolio to start applying for jobs in C#?
So that's a great question, Florin, and we'd love to answer this a lot. And so like, here's the prototype that you need to have. So go to one of our videos called the One Coding Project Guaranteed to Get You a Job. And just to give you the short version of that, what we're talking about in that project is a bug tracker. Okay. There are basically a couple of features that any good project should have. The first one is it should utilize a database. So we're talking about full stack jobs here. So if you're pursuing just front end, this doesn't apply, but we think you should go ahead and aspire to be a full stack dev. They make more money. There's more jobs available for you. So there's a lot more opportunity for you. That's how we pick it. So in the full stack realm, it's got to use a database. The second thing that it needs to have is a implement security, which is authorization and authentication. Authentication is the act of logging in. Authorization is once I'm logged in, what can I do? And so it needs to do those kind of things. And then the third thing is kind of nebulous to a lot of people, but solve a business problem that's recognizable. So like when someone looks at your project, they can know immediately what it's supposed to do, and they can judge whether it's good or bad. And so I make this reference all the time. So Todd McFarlane was asked, how do I get into comics? And he said, hey, if you want to go to Marvel, draw Spider-Man. If you want to go to DC, draw Batman. Don't draw your custom character because they won't know if it's good or bad. But they can judge Spider-Man, your take on Spider-Man, if that's being good or not. And I think that is why we say take a familiar project, push it out during the interview process, and let them see it. The third thing that it needs to do is it needs to be hosted so someone can look at it, and it needs to have demo logins so someone can demo in it. And I've got a video that we're going to create about a special feature that it needs to have, and it's a little bit longer to go in here, that allows you to demo it even better. But you need to demo that during the interview process so that someone can see what you can do. So take interview questions, and when they ask you an interview question in a technical nature, apply that answer to the code that's in, say, the bug tracker. So if they ask you what object-oriented programming is, what is OOP? Or can you demonstrate overloading? You want to answer that not in the academic answer, but in the technical answer of the code itself. And so then you bring up Visual Studio, or you show your project and show them the answer that way. So that's what I would do. So start building a bug tracker or projects like that implement security, database, solve a business problem, and it's easy recognizable. And I think if you do that, those projects will resonate with the interviewer. So
yep. The other important thing to do too is, you touched on this earlier, is to make sure that they're published too. Don't just put up the Git for the project. Make sure that it's published. They have to be able to click around and sort of be able to interact with it. That's a very important part.
Right.
And then the other thing too that we haven't talked about here, as far as portfolios go, we always talk about like the main projects, but on like in Coder Foundry, we have people produce kind of mini projects too, right? They do like the coding challenge style projects. Another thing you can put on your
Right.
portfolio. They're a little bit smaller in size.
Yeah, typically built with JavaScript, typically smaller in scale and scope, doesn't have all these kind of like big projects, but it fills out the portfolio as you can do a variety of things. So one of the things you can do in the smaller projects, so let's take something like a very familiar project like Fizz Buzz. You can watch our Fizz Buzz tutorials on the YouTube channel. I think I've done it multiple times, but what we do is instead of just solving that like in the console and then pushing out like a JavaScript one-liner, we build an application around that to allow someone to, change the parameters of Fizz Buzz, change the labels on it, and then click a button. So it gives them something to do with that. So we put an app around any kind of coding challenge that we can think of so that someone can just play with it and use it and implement it without them having to look at the code necessarily. They can say if it works or not. So
the other tip there too is if you have projects where they vary in sort of size, let's say that you do have a Fizz Buzz project and you also have a bug tracker. The bug tracker is obviously a complete full application, has a lot more work and a lot more time into it. And you also have, Fizz Buzz on the side. Make sure that that's reflected in your projects, because if somebody's looking at your portfolio, they may only look at one project on there. So make sure that they're going to click on your best product first, which in this case will be your bug tracker. Don't put Fizz Buzz at the top of the list.
Right. And so like what you could do in the header is a lot of times you have a header with an image. One thing that you can add on the top of it is put a carousel and then like click through that carousel. And the first one could say, hey, I'm open to work, hire me. The second could say, bug tracker 2.0 is out. Click here to see more, and they click here and that launches the application. And then when you're making your applications, make sure each of your applications have landing pages. And these landing pages tell you what you built it with, maybe the time that it took you to build it, definitely all the technologies, skills used to do it, and then an overview of what the project's supposed to do. So just in case that they don't know what the heck a bug tracker is, but everyone does, that you can like tell them what this thing does and what are the major features of it. So even if they don't take the time to like click through the app, they see this really cool, well-designed landing page. You're like, oh, that's neat. We should bring them in. Do I have time for a quick story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's my show. So like, so we had a guy that just recently sent us a thing back in LinkedIn, and he's interviewing. And so he was interviewing for a C# position, and it doesn't matter, but the story relates to the projects. And so he was answering questions. And so someone asked him a basic interview question, and he was on Zoom doing it remote, and he did something genius. He goes, let me show you the answer to that. And that was so genius. Like he didn't ask the demo his thing. He didn't do that. He says, let me show you the answer to how I would answer that. And so even self says that he at that point,
thanks, Alex.
It's my show now. Tech Rally.
Apparently $5 buys you the show. I don't know. Hey, we're cheap. What do you want?
We're cheap. But like it's my
Alex.
show now. So like one thing that he did was he thought the interview wasn't going well. And then he showed them the answer, just demonstrated his code and talked about it. And then the genius question was, what was the time frame for that project? And when he told him he built it in 4 weeks, he was like, oh, wow, I'm going to immediately recommend that you talk further with the team. And he got to a level 2 interview off of a demo. And people in here, I don't know what the chat's doing right now, but like people continually talk down to us a lot of times saying like, that just doesn't work in an interview. And I'm telling you people, if you demo work, it gives you a better shot at winning a job. It may not work 100% of the time, but like if you demo in 6 or 7 interviews and you're reasonably competent and your projects are really good, you're going to get hired. So anyway, hope that helps, Florin. That was a long way of answering that question.
No.
So,
Also, Ben said, adding authentication, roles permissions make you stand out the most. It's a very common thing to run into. People like auth and permissions are the hardest. So that's a feature that we do tell people to add in. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in our bug tracker, we have like authorization roles like admin, ticket submitter, developer, project manager. We have some very basic roles in there. So like I think those kind of things make you stand out, and you can demo your app with the view of each of those kind of roles and show what they can see, what they can do. So it's I think it's critical to put it in your project.
Yep. Just going to put this comment up because I haven't seen Hassan here before, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Hassan. Said, "Yeah, what's up?" So, what's up, Hassan?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, let us know.
Cool.
Let's go to next question here.
Yeah.
Hide above sea level says, "Hey guys, it's been a while." It has, yeah. Where have you been? You've been hiding. If you know JS and React JS, how much jQuery knowledge do you need before you start applying?
I don't think you need to necessarily have to know jQuery. So just go with what you got. If you can build a React app, then I'll start applying. That's what I think. And I think if I had to pick right now between jQuery and TypeScript, I'm definitely learning TypeScript.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
I saw a tweet this morning from somebody. It was one of those like, here's the 90-day plan or something to become a developer, and they listed things, and one of the things was they spent like 5 days on jQuery, and I'm like, oh man, I want to be like, really? Is that something you should really do at this point?
But if you need to know what it looks like and how to do basic DOM manipulation with jQuery, that's fine. And if you run into a place where that's how they do it, then you'll need to know it. But I don't think that's going to keep you from getting a job. But if you feel like it is, dive in. You don't need to know it all. I mean, just dive into.
I think you can pick up the basics quickly. You really can.
Yeah. So maybe 5 days out of 90 days isn't bad. I mean, I think if you can build an app in React, then you should be applying right now.
Right.
So try to build something in React.
Alex's.
I agree. 100%, man. I'm with you all the way, man.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, right? jQuery enabled you to do some stuff that you maybe couldn't do with Node.js, but now you can, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some shorthand to it, but
I think it tried to make some things easier, didn't it? It tried to make DOM manipulation easier by the syntax that you use, but.
Yeah. But now with IntelliSense and type ahead and all that's kind of finishing your lines, when you type document.getElement by ID, you can really do that in like 3 or 4 keystrokes. It's just as fast as typing it with jQuery.
Yep. Okay. Not necessarily a tech question, but we're going to talk about it anyway. 808 High Vibes wants to know favorite hacker movie. Hackers, Swordfish, Matrix, War Games. We had Keytron on once, and we did a little thing where we talked about some of the stuff in hacker movies. Maybe we'll do that again at some point. We took some clips from hacker movies that we thought were hysterical and asked him how realistic they were. Some of the ones that were like, oh yeah, that could happen. Like, what? Are you kidding me? That really? It's kind of interesting. Some crazy stuff. We have.
So I think my favorite.
Swordfish.
So I think my favorite movie. In fact, my son is in film school, and this year in his thing, they do genres every year, and so this year his thing was in action movies, and he went through the list of the curated list that he has to watch being in film school for action movies. And before it was like French film and other ones before, so he being an action movie fan, he was super excited about that. But what we noticed was we were going through the list, and we're like, oh, that's good. Die Hard being the first screening, which the guy thought that was the best action movie of all time. But we remarked that Matrix didn't make this list of this guy's list. And we were like, I don't know if I can look at any action movie list with Matrix not on it. And so to me, I'm coming this from a movie standpoint, because I watch a lot of movies. Matrix defined a genre, number one, and it was the best. I think it's definitely the best hacker movie of all time. But the best hacking scene is in Mr. Robot.
Which scene? You like that?
So
which one?
When she drops the 1,000 dongles in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's just that is so that would work every freaking time, man.
Yes, it would.
So that's the most realistic one. Matrix obviously is in sci-fi, and the first Matrix, not the third one, but just the first one. So.
Yeah, Mr. Robot's great. It has a lot of realistic hacking stuff in Mr. Robot, which is what makes it interesting. Yeah. I think we asked Keytron about a bunch of stuff in that. He's like, hey, yeah, that would work. We did the car hack, right? The car hack in Mr. Robot. Yeah. He's like, that could technically work.
Right, exactly. So the other thing about Matrix, just a side note, at the time when it came out, I was working for a company called Aon Consulting, and that's where I worked at the time. And then the famous bullet dodge scene, Aeon, is in the background because it was in Chicago, filmed in Chicago, and that was like, we all talked about that when we were working there. Hey, look, that's the Aeon building. So anyway,
That's funny.
Little Easter egg inside tip. But yeah,
I love Hackers.
For
I think it's a great movie. Awesome movie from the 90s. Unrealistic as anything, but it's a great movie. One of my favorites. I like the music. The soundtrack in Hackers is legit. That's a great soundtrack. And you forgot another one from your list. Live Free or Die Hard. If you're getting with the the Mac guy who does the hacking in there. Traffic hacking. That's legit.
Yeah.
Terrible movie, but it's got lots of hacking in it.
Bruce Willis does the Boomer Dad really well. I mean, he does that so well.
Yeah.
Boomer Dad with a gun. That's who
Boomer Dad. With lots of guns. Pandu, thank you for the question. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Pandu wants to know, I want to learn data structures and algorithms. Help me.
Oh, good. I think there's tons of resources out there, man. Just there's a bunch of these websites that focus solely on that. So just look them up. There's a bunch of these out there.
It's all about practice, right? It's
there's
literally
a bunch
all
of
about practice.
Courses and Udemy. I can't say that word. I don't want to say it, Kevin. Udemy. So data structures, algorithms, you can learn there. You can go to Pluralsight. It's a bunch of free code-camp stuff. There's just a lot of stuff out there for this particular topic at large. Then there's LeetCode and HackerRank. There's a lot of things out there where you can learn this. So,
yep.
I hope that helps.
You got to have life goals, right? Anyway, it rhymes. One day you'll hack with emo Angelina Jolie. That's a great life goal. That's a great life goal. But you got to be cool on a skateboard too, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Here you go. He actually has a question too. Says, what are some important security risks as junior devs should be able to handle? Could you explain some of them with best practices? XSS, hiding API keys.
So we teach at the bootcamp here. We teach ASP.NET, which handles a lot of the kind of top level security things. So SQL injection being one of the big ones, cross-site scripting being the other for any form that you push out. Inside of ASP.NET, there's a built-in way to handle cross-site scripting with you mark up your controller and it puts a long key in the front side, and those two things have to match. It's really good. Definitely, if you're building a JavaScript site and you're hitting a third-party API and that's using a key, you need to hide that key because you don't know that JavaScript is in the client. So your key will be, you can just like view source and see it.
Lots of people have been burned by that. Not understanding how that works, and they're racking up a bill with the API calls. Yeah,
so like Google Maps, like you got the Google Map API. And you might not know this, but you're charged by impression, and there's a free tier, but then after that, you can go, and people are just mean. If they see your key in there, they'll just use it and like run up a bill. And so like what you need to do is you need to either implement a serverless function or an API backend that's hosted that you call into if you're coming from JavaScript, and it just gets the results set back for you. So like there's other things that you can do. And then you need to make sure that API only works on that one website. So that's kind of what you should work on. The other thing is using cloud storage like S3. So if you're using S3 to store things, or like some kind of like security or storage container like on Azure or some kind of other thing, make sure that's not browsable by the internet. A lot of times what people do, and the biggest one we've seen to date was Parler. When Parler went down, they put all their data on an S3 share and it wasn't secure. So like their app was secure coming in, but all the data was over here and you just had to go around the app and navigate to it. So any place that you're storing data that you don't want people to like just go to without being authenticated, all of those APIs should be using some kind of JWT token or something like that. So that sounds like it's like really big and large, but I think security should be your number one goal when you're building things, when you're learning. So obviously put a logon page to your website, secure your resources, those kind of things as well. So I hope that helps.
Right. Okay. Oh, Ben has a tip here too. Look, in JavaScript, you can hide your files in an env file, npm.env, and then place the env file, or in git ignore.
Yeah. So like, yeah, don't push your key up through Git too is another thing. I didn't really look at that. So yeah, that's another thing. So like npm, you can run some. So there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Okay. Cool. Oh, here's a good question from Alex. It's the best way to cold call / email recruiters. I'm hearing differing opinions from recruiters versus what software devs think you should do.
So I think number one, tech, Alex is, and this is Alex Reed from Tech Rally. Go follow him up. He's got a good YouTube channel. I think that you can pretty much a recruiter is a salesperson. So they're typically want to talk to people that are working in the industry or even trying to look so they can actually get your resume and at least put it in their bucket of people they can call from. So I think they're always going to take your call pretty much anyway. So just call them on the phone. The best way to find them is on LinkedIn. So reach out to them directly on LinkedIn, hit them with an in message, try to connect to them, and then just ask for a conversation. And you can do it one of two ways. If you're super junior, you can say, hey, do you have 5 minutes to spend with me? Tell me what you're recruiting for. I'm learning A, B, and C. Yep. And if you're a new person and you have a portfolio, that's your first opportunity to pitch a portfolio to somebody in a very kind of like low risk way and say, hey, look at my portfolio. What do you think? And so like what you want the recruiter to do is like, ooh, I can sell that portfolio. Let me get back to you and then see what I have opening. Realize too that there is a professional side to this relationship and not a personal side typically. And so many people get mad when a recruiter ghosts them. And I hear it all the freaking time. They also get mad when a recruiter calls them when they get recruiter calls. So like if I get
the opposite of ghosting them.
When I'm looking for a job that ghosts me, I'm mad. So therefore recruiters suck, and they don't. It's a business relationship. So what you want to do is nurture that business relationship. They call you, answer. I see so many people on Twitter, and you got to understand the people saying this on Twitter are highly compensated senior level developers. Anytime they're looking, the recruiters are going to bang their door down. And so then they say, well, I don't want to talk to you right now. And they're mean to them, but they're going to get that call back anyway because they're senior level developers. So but then you take that advice and go, oh, I'm a junior dev. I'm going to be the same rude person that person is. And it's not going to work for you because you're not that much in demand until you've got 5 or 6 years. So I think build a relationship with a recruiter, be nice to them, always take their call, always kind of build and nurture that relationship so that when you need them, you're on top of funnel, you're on top of mind, and they're going to like work with you because they like you and they'll help you out. That's just my advice there. That's what I think you should do. But you can work with more than one. You don't have to work with just one. Work with 5 of them. So hope that helps, Alex.
Okay. Right, cool. And 17 Heroes. Says Big Rick made sure you want to put it on the channel. Tool called LinkPad. We'll look at this. You used LinkPad before?
I've used it, yeah.
Okay. What does it do? Do you know? Top of your head?
It allows you to make link in like a notepad and write queries and things like that, and it connects to your database and it's outside of your normal development so that you can just focus on that one part.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. Cool. Thank you for the tip. Appreciate it. Let me see here. What else we got? This one's kind of tough, but we'll talk about it anyway. Troy, thank you for the question. Says, what is the best learning track for people who work full-time but can't afford to quit their job for a boot camp?
Yeah, you're going to have to go pick some learning resources, man. That's what you're going to have to do. I would say that take a tutorial and then try to build a project after that tutorial on your own. Those kind of things.
You're going to have to quit your whatever other hobby you have. You kind of have to quit it because you're going to have to put all your free time into this. Yeah,
and I would recommend, Troy, too, that it's blocks of time and not I know there's 100 days of code. I don't agree with that, coding 1 hour per day. I don't think that's really useful. I think it's like maybe Friday night when you get off work, code a little bit. Then Saturday when you get up, you're spending the Saturday and your Sunday doing it. And then you go back to work on Monday through Friday. So I think you're going to have to spend blocks of time building a project. And then once you have that project built, show it to somebody.
And just as an early plug, we're still working on a self-paced course.
We are working on self-paced course,
it's
man.
Coming.
It's coming, dude. And so,
Bobby is extremely busy doing it. So
yeah, exactly. So, so specific question, Troy, you can come to our learn.code Foundry when it's done.
When we launch it.
Yeah.
So that will give you the track, but.
Yeah.
Okay. We got some time. Okay, I actually have enough time to get to these. Let me see. Oh, actually, this brings up a point. Mohammed, yes, I'm gonna cut up a bunch of these videos going forward too. So I've been doing a couple of things on the channel. I'm gonna put out more shorts on the channel, so just quick little bits and more shorter videos with little bits segments from these videos. I'm also going to be chapterizing these videos. So if you come back and watch this tomorrow, it'll be chapterized, so you can jump to any point in the sort of the conversation, just get an answer to a specific question. So if that's going to help you guys with like rewatching these things, because I know they can be kind of long when it's an hour and you come back and watch it. So that's something that we're actually actively working on.
We talked about this morning. Just to tell you what, we're probably going to answer less questions, but I'm going to be more involved in some of the questions that we do answer, so that we can pull that out and give you a bite-sized, maybe 1 to 2 minute video of just an answer to a particular question. So.
Yep. Yeah, we want to go deeper on some of the questions, because sometimes we hit the periphery on some of them, and it's like we sometimes assume you guys know the other stuff, and you often don't. Right, so it's like we want to jump into that kind of stuff a little bit deeper sometimes. There you go. Alex said he made a video on why 100 days of code sucks. Read my mind. I think we've made a video like that before, I think, too, Alex. I don't know if we didn't call it that. It wasn't that bad, but we did hit on why we think you should learn in blocks and not in 1 hour increments. I mean, anybody here who's has learned to code or is learning to code, how far do you get in an hour? It's not very far. You're hitting your first problem after an hour, and then you never get back to solve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sense. Yeah, it's
I can spend hours just working on my footer on the bottom of a web page.
I'm okay with the idea of 100 days of code, and I think that itself is a good idea. I don't like the stipulation that it's 1 hour a day for 100 days. It's 100 days where you do multiple hours a day. That's okay.
Right.
But if you miss a day, like, don't feel bad about it.
Or 50 weekends or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. 50 weekends. There you go. Maybe that's
something like that.
Let's start a new thing, people. Let's start the hashtag 50 weekends of code. That's
a year.
We'll compete with we'll compete with 100 days. It just works better.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Mohammed wants to know, is it possible to get an internship or a job at a company in another country and work for them being in my own country?
Yeah, that's possible. So here's, I think that, and I'm honestly, Mohammed, so I'm in the US. I don't really know exactly how this works, but I've been on the other side of where I've worked managing offshore teams. And typically those offshore teams are coming in through a bigger kind of company like a Cognizant or somebody like that has like the contract with the bank, and those employees are working in other countries. So I think you're going to hook onto a consulting company that works in your country that has US based business. Doing it as an individual, I would think would be fairly hard unless you're going to be freelancing, and that's even more difficult sometimes. But like, I think the best route is to work at a company that already has the US based business, and you can work there. But as an individual working remote at another country, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying it's not possible. I've never tried to do it, but I think you can, your best bet is to work at a company in your country that's working in the US, work there, maybe build some relationships at these companies, and then maybe you can strike out on your own after that. Given the fact that you may have like a non-compete or something like that. But and I think the reason you want to go direct is because you can make more, and I get that too. Maybe the company on your side isn't paying as well as you'd like, and so if you go direct, you can make more.
Right.
But you're gonna have to build it up through Odesk or something like that, where you're on a website and becoming a freelancer, I think, more than anything. So the other thing that you can do is build up your social media presence, build up your LinkedIn profile, make sure that people in the US can get comfortable with who you are as a developer, and see if they want to work with you directly when you reach out to them. And then you're just going to have to sell yourself. That's definitely possible.
definitely. Okay. Philip says, "Hey guys, starting my first job as a back-end developer at an e-commerce company. What should I
Nice.
expect? And do you
All
have
right.
any tips on how to not get myself fired?" Congratulations, firstly, Philip. That's awesome.
No, it's
Congrats.
good, man. You got through the hard part. I would say, what should you expect? You're probably going to get, if you're junior, say it's first job, you're probably going to get a list of tickets to fix. And so here's the tips. Number one, be productive. Take any job that you can do there that's around coding, obviously.
Be the yes guy.
And so some of the senior guys don't want to do the crap work. You're going to do any of that kind of crap work that you can get to get yourself to be productive and try to fix as many things as you can. Second, do not think that you can't ask questions because you're a junior. And so if you sit on, like, say, a task for 2 to 3 weeks and not ask questions because you're afraid to, that will get you fired, because then you're not productive. It's better to ask questions up front, try to get as much information you have, and then get on to fixing things. Because there's a lot of things when you get in there, like how that you learned how to do some stuff, but because of the company structure, the code structure, whatever, it can be confusing. So, or the technology stack you hadn't seen before. I would say ask questions early rather than later, and don't be afraid to work with your teammates, and just be a nice, overall nice person. Show up, be on time, and get your work done. So, hope that helps, Philip. Good luck, man. That's awesome that you got a job.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Congrats.
Yeah.
Eric Bruce, thank you for the question. An interesting one. Do most tech companies make you sign a non-compete? If so,
yes.
How do people jump from job to job without getting sued?
Yeah, it depends on where you live and what state you're in, but let's talk about the U.S. So typically you're going to get a non-compete agreement. So the non-competes have to have a couple of reasons, and this isn't legal advice. So if you have a non-compete, you may want to get an attorney to look at it, but in general, it has to be enforceable. So a non-compete that's traditionally not enforceable is something that covers like the entire continental United States, or 400 miles from where you live, or you can't work in an entire industry, things like that.
Right.
But they can restrict you for working at a company, specifically a consulting company, and then going to work directly for one of their clients in your next role. That would get you sued. All right. But typically, if you work for a consulting company and then you leave to go to another job that isn't one of their customers, then you're free to go. So usually it's not as restrictive as it looks. It's just trying to protect their business so that you don't come in and work for their customers directly. Say, hey, I'll do this for, $27 an hour, and they're charging that customer $100, and then you steal that'll get you sued. The other thing is if you go work for a company and say you're building a product at that company, and then you go start a competing business with the same product, that's also going to get you sued. But you could leave that company and work on a different product or do a different thing, and you're okay with that. So, just look at your non-compete. Look at the enforceability. Typically 5 years is too long. I mean, that's crazy. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. All 48 states isn't enforceable. Those kind of things.
Yeah, there's obvious restrictions, right? But it's like they can't stop you from getting another job.
Right. So in most states, and not to get political on you, most states are called right to work states. So that, and a lot of people think those are bad sometimes in the political arena, but it's really, it really protects you as a worker, because now that these kind of crazy non-competes can't restrict you from working. And so you have a right to have a job, or a right to work in most states. And so and a lot of times when you hear right to work states, they're talking about like unions and things like that. But really the big benefit is it keeps you free to kind of work in where you want. And that's how it works in the US. So, when you sign a non-compete, just pay attention to it. But typically, for the most part, it's not going to apply to you unless you steal one of their customers or you're working on a competitive product.
Yeah. So, ultimately, they have to sue you over it, so they have to prove some sort of reason. Yeah. It's not. They can't just say just because. It's like ultimately they have to prove that non-compete's been violated, right? So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And they have to show damages too. Like you can even violate a non-compete, but if there's no damage, then they typically can't win a lawsuit either.
Right.
But
you gotta go to court. You got to be in a
Go to
lawsuit,
court.
which is
Yeah.
never fun.
No, and expensive.
Unless you
I
really
hope that
like
helps.
lawsuits for some
But
strange
like, if
reason.
you got one, Eric, don't listen to me. Go get that thing evaluated with an attorney if you're worried about it. Make sure you get proper representation if you're worried about what the non-compete is. I would read every non-compete that you sign for sure.
Yeah, don't get. That's definitely
it's valid
true.
to be skeptical. 100%.
Yeah,
You need to
yeah.
and you can sometimes come back and say, you know what, change this, and we're good to go. And sometimes they'll change it.
If you're on your first day of work and you're filling out that paperwork and it's just one of those forms that somebody throws in front of you that just says, "Oh, sign all these," like, read it.
Yeah, just read it.
It is one of the things you need to read.
And if you have questions, ask them about it. And then if you have further questions beyond that, then go look at an attorney. And then if it's something that you just can't sign, don't start off on the bad foot with the company. I mean, just try to like figure it out before you get there. So hope that helps.
Right. Okay, we're just past the hour, so I'm going to do one last thing here. Quickly, your opinion.
Yeah, and I do have a 1:15, so I got to get going here.
Yeah, we got to jump off. We'll talk about that in 1 second, just real quick.
Yeah.
But Fody wants to know opinions on Java.
I think it's fine. I mean, like, I think C# and Java, I think you should learn a server-side processing language. I think there's two really big ones, C# and Java, and they're well used everywhere. So I think that's fine. Java's also used a lot in mobile development, though I think that may be being phased out by Google with other languages like Kotlin, Dart, and those kind of things coming around. So, but it's mainstream. It's used a lot. You can make a living doing it. So if that's your jam, jump into it head first. I think Java and C# are similar in the regards of like where they run and where they operate. I think C# may have a leg up on it in the sheer number of things you can do with it. Like, but Java is also more prevalent things like embedded devices that maybe C# doesn't run as many places as. So there's just a lot of varying things that it can do. But yeah, you can make a living with Java and you get paid well to do it. So I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to be doing another coding challenge here soon. We're talking with a potential sponsor.
We can't announce it quite yet, but like,
but we're talking with a potential sponsor next. So we'll come back and let you guys know about that. But that's coming in the future. So get your hands like warmed up on the keys.
Get ready to dance some fingers on the keyboard,
as Danny would say.
Get ready to make some stuff, as Danny Thomas would say.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we'll be back on Thursday.
Right.
If we've squared everything away by then, we may talk about that Thursday. If not, we'll probably launch it next week, maybe sometime. We'll iron out all the details. So, yep.
Should be cool. We're excited about it.
Definitely.
All right. Good luck and keep coding, guys. See you Thursday.
See you guys later.